Okay, so you're quite new to the interface, and this is basically how the interface works. This is how the interface looks, and we have different columns. We have the first column, the second column, and then the third column. This is the navigator. Navigator, we're going to be looking at that in the future. Catalog. This is where for your file management. And all that. Now, over here we have the menu bar, file. To deal with your files, your edits, library, photo, metadata, view, window, and help. Yeah, so we're going to be looking basically, since we don't have so much time, we're going to be looking at the most important of them. And then here we have another row here that has different workspaces. We have the library, the develop, map, book, but basically we're just going to be looking at the library and develop. So first things first, you might want to know how to import an image into Lightroom. One way you can do that is to click on file, and then once you click on file, you've got import photos and videos, or this is the shortcut here, Control-Shift-I. So you could hit Control-Shift-I, or you could just click it over here, or you could come down here and click on this button, so it takes you over to another space where you choose whatever it is you want to import. So I'm going to cancel that because I want to show you another way we could do that. Is from your file explorer, you could just select what you want to import and then drag it over here, but then you need to make sure that you are on the library tab, sorry. Okay, so once you drag that, it imports every image. It actually shows you every image in that particular file directory, and then you just it only takes the ones that you selected before dragging, just in case you want to pick up or you want to pick up other images. So I could come over here, maybe double click, it gives you a larger image, and then hit P to once you hit P, it picks that up. Or if you hit the tilde, that's the button that is beneath your escape button, it actually deselects that, but we want to pick that, so hitting up P. So once you're done with that, we have the first one. This is your source. This is where we're pulling these images from, the memory card that is connected to this computer right now. And then this is the middle column that once you double click, it shows you all the images in that particular folder. And then this third column, this has to do with your file handling, how the images are imported. If you want to rename files, you could rename files, let's say from here, date file, custom text, you could use a custom name and sequence, and then let's say Lightroom, and then it gives a sequence from 1. So there are different templates here. You could use custom name, X of Y, custom name, original file number. Each file has its own number if you look at it over here, and then a particular sequence. So usually I work with this, so Lightroom, then the sequence, and every extension you leave as is. Alright, so apply during imports. You have the develop settings in case you want to change all of them to a particular, maybe black and white, or you want to put a particular filter, but that's not necessary most times, except upfront that you really want to work with black and white images. You're very sure that is what you want to do, but even though it's not really advisable, I prefer you work with that and then apply your black and whites later on. This portion is the directory that this image is going to be imported to. All your images that are important to, this is where they're going to be imported to on your computer, the file directory they are going to be imported to on your computer. And that's basically everything. So once you're cool with everything there, you hit the import, and it gives you some time. And also you could choose which collection, but I think we're going to be looking at that later on. We can actually do the corrections while importing, or you could work with the collections while the photos have already been imported. For example, we have these images. Sorry, that's a bit slow. There are about 3 images here. Okay, so we have you see there's no collection here, but there's something we could do over here. Once you right click on an image, add to quick collection, you could do that. So once you come up to your collections, you could create new collections, and then let's say, for example, you could create a collection for your portraits, and then when you come to an image that is a portrait, you right click and then add to your, go to collection. There's no collection currently, so you could add that. You could just drag it. Also, you could drag it to a particular collection that you have there. Drag this image now to a collection and then puts it there. It doesn't actually change the file directory, it doesn't change the file location, but then it helps you sort your images into different forms. It helps you out with that. So that's what you have on this particular column. These are the folders on your computer. So that's basically everything you have. And this particular navigator here highlights the image that has been selected. The image that I hovered upon last, or the image that is selected. So once I put the cursor on this, it shows up. Once I remove it, it goes back to the image that is selected. Now over here in the library panel, you could also, the library tab, you could also filter according to text. You could filter according to the attributes. You could filter according to the metadata and all that. So those are things that we go into in a more advanced class. So once you double click, it enlarges it for you. Right, currently there's no image that I selected. I just clicked on this portion and you can see there's nothing on the navigator, but the moment you select on that, it comes up. So that's for here. And then we come over here to the third column. We have your histogram. A histogram, I think we're going to have a dedicated class. We may not. We will have a dedicated class for that, for the histogram, to help you interpret the histogram and all that. So quick develop is this when you want to use a particular preset immediately, but yes, we're going to skip that. Keywording, if you want to add some particular keywords, it helps you sort your images. When you're dealing with images, maybe thousands of images at at an instance, you might want to have keywords to help you sort those images. So probably you could name some according to that. Maybe you want to name some as maybe first set, second set. You just, whatever thing you want to do, you do your thing. And then you have a list of keywords here already, so you could just navigate. Maybe you want to go to, you see there are two different people here. Now I could put this as first outfit. Maybe I have 5 images on this outfit. I could put this under a keyword of first outfit, second guy, first outfit, first lady, first second outfit. You could do that. So when we come over here, you just click on this and then it brings out all the images on that particular keyword list. So metadata, this is what your metadata basically gives you: the information on the image, everything that has to do with the image, the dimension of the image, the camera it was shot on, the ISO value, the exposure, everything, shutter speed and all that. Then if there are any comments, you'd find them down here, but those are things that we'll look into probably in the future, but they're not really very important currently. So over to the develop, that's all we have for the library panel, library tab, I'm sorry. Alright, so over to the develop tab. On the develop tab, the first thing you want to look at are the basic adjustments. So let's forget about this for now. We'll look at that. This is a more advanced class. Here, the histogram. You see over here you have the blacks, the shadows, exposure. This is actually the mid-tones, the highlights, and then the whites. Then 2 triangles. It is show highlights clipping. So what this does is, if we have this selected right now, and we increase, let's say, the exposure of the image, wherever we have a place that is going too bright, that goes like beyond the points where you can view the data there, it's just white, like it has crushed the detail there, it turns to red. So it's showing you that place has clipped. You cannot get any detail from it anymore. It's the same thing on the dark parts. When we drag you see, it shows blue. So right now those places are black. We cannot get any detail from there. It comes in very, very handy. Usually I work with that. Now, first thing you might want to do on your images is white balancing. Now, on your white balancing, what I like to do is you pick this eyedropper tool, you click on that, and then you go to a portion of your image that is meant to be white, and then you click on that. You see it has just balanced the image to a more natural look. But it all depends on your personal preference. It's adjust this particular tool feathers to give this image a more balanced, like a more natural look. I think it works. Let's have something like this. Here the sky is meant to be white, so if we want to make this reference point as white, it does this. So this is a more natural look to that, but then I prefer this. Alright, so let's get back to this. Control Z, undo. Alright, now basically what you already know what your exposure fader does. Contrast, highlights. Your highlights area actually deals with this portion of your histogram. You could take it up, bring it down as you wish. Your shadows, if you notice, this portion is what is selected. And you could also click and drag from your histogram and adjust it from here. Yeah, it's basically the same thing that it does for here, but this gives you this actually gives you more leverage over the histogram, and all that. Here this section comes down to presence, and the presence has your clarity. Usually you don't want to use so much of this because it could destroy your image, except you're going for a HDR kind of feel, but you don't really want to use much of this. Most times for my portraits I use at most probably like 17 if necessary. Actually, vibrance targets your mid-tones, the colors in the mid-tones, balances them out, and then the overall saturation of the images. So here's a quick tip. Usually what I do is take up the vibrance and then take down the saturation a little bit. It gives you a more natural look to the image. The colors really stand out and pop very well. So double click on that too, and then we get into the next section actually, that is the tone curve. Now this works more like what you see, similar to this, but then it's entirely different here. It doesn't have anything to do with the colors and all that. So you could decide to click and then it creates different points. So this point here, around here, is your mid-tone. Yeah, your mid-tone area. You could adjust them separately. These points here are your blacks. You could crush your blacks and get that filmic look. These are things that we're going to be looking forward to. And then if you want to remove a particular point, you just click and drag out of the box, and it automatically deletes that for you. These are highlights. It takes your highlights. You can see your highlights are already growing up, and then the blacks, you can reduce the blacks or increase the blacks. So basically that's what your tone curve does. Sorry, let me remove that. So oops. Alright, so you could decide to double click. You could click once to add a point. You could double click to remove that point. Yeah. Alright, so down here you see the HSL. That's your hue, saturation, luminance, or color. It's basically the same thing, just different forms. You could pick the colors here and then hue, saturation, luminance, depending on how you want it to be. But usually this is how I work with it. Your hue, saturation, luminance. Yeah, so over the hue, you could change the particular hue of a color, the color representation. You see the red, you could change it to towards orange, and then you notice the difference there. So you could do that for all the colors, all the color ranges. You could increase the saturation of the reddish parts. You could do that. So selective saturation, selective coloring actually, and then the brightness value of each color. Actually selectively increasing the brightness of each color. And next section we have here is split toning. As if, for example, now we want all our highlights to have a bluish kind of tone, and then we want our shadows to have this reddish tone. This is what we can do, and then take up the saturation on both sides. So it gives us this cross process kind of look. But then I think we should, in future classes, we're going to look deeper into this. And then all these sections have a knob here. You could take it off. So this is a cross process kind of look, separating the highlights and the shadows into different colors and then saturation levels. So I'll put that off. We'll look at that in another class. And then the detail, from what it says, basically is your sharpening, how you could work with that. And then masking helps you break down, helps you target the particular portion you want the sharpening to go on. If you hit your alternate and then you click and drag this is what you see. So it helps you view the places that are having the most sharpening. Yeah, so at this point you see the areas that are white are the places that have the most sharpening effect on. So just come in really, really handy. Noise reduction, yeah, we're going to look at that in other classes as time goes on. Yeah. Alright, so lens correction is, in some cases when you use wide angle lenses or telephoto lenses, they have different compression rates and all that, but we're going to deal with that separately. And effects, where we have the vignettes. I actually love working with vignettes on portraits. It has a way of dragging your attention to the subject. And you can fine tune your vignettes over here. Your grain, dehaze, camera calibration. These are color. This is basically still color profiles. There's some camera lenses that deal with colors differently. So if you want to go really advanced and then deal with those colors yourself, it's basically a thing of preference. Over time you gain that experience. So basically that is the most important thing. And then I actually forgot to come over here. Your presets is, you could actually add some LUTs and come up with very nice presets over here. So I have a couple of presets here. Probably I'll get to get some of them to you. Yeah, so this is basically coming very handy when you're on a very, very short deadline. You work with that HDR kind of presets. You just have a bunch of presets there lying there, and then they help you a lot. Control Z, Control C, and yeah, if you want to view the image, you hit backslash, view the original image. So let's say, for example, I pick up this. Let's say one of this. Let's pick up this preset. Now it's hit. Now what we want to see is the original image where we're coming from. It hits backslash. Put your hand on backslash. It shows you the original image. That's the before and then the after. So you could always track your process, track what is going on. So basically that is everything that's we're going to be looking at for this class, the basics of Lightroom. And I hope to see you in the next class. Ciao, ciao.